to know that we're not trying to delay you. We're just waiting on our guests to sign in here. How's everybody doing? And if our guest can't connect or doesn't show up, we will just go live anyway. Anthony says he's last. Breaking news: Tony Gonzalez, Republican out of Texas, to retire. Coming on early tonight, I see. Well, I wanted everybody to know because I said 6 o'clock that I'm here. I'm just waiting on the guests to come in, and you know, Swalwell resigned from Congress. Gonzalez is resigning from Congress. I'm here, but the link isn't working. Okay. Well, that sucks. Hang on. Goodness gracious Ignatius, what did I do? So let's see here. I'm sorry for that. Let's see if I can get you a new link. Working on that now. Give me one moment, please. What is going on here? Okay. Come. Sorry, MyTeacherFace. I really want to talk to you because you have a lot of things I want to talk about. So, how am I not able to send this? Am I not able to send it because I'm live? Thank you very much, Ruth. I appreciate that. Okay, 1 minute. Is it here? Here we go. Okay, I've sent it again. First of all, can you guys see me again? Sometimes when I go out and come back in, that gets a little sketchy when it comes to over here on YouTube. Can everybody see and hear me? Try the link I just sent you. It's the link to this one that we're in now, MyTeacherFace. That is so weird that it's saying that I'm no longer live. Are we going to have technical problems today, TeacherFace or YouTube? Thank you, Bubbles. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, everybody else, obviously. Did you send a new one? I just did, yes. In the meantime, how's everybody doing? Haven't seen you since, when was our last live? Thursday? Friday? Because Renee and I did not do our regular Saturday Night Live. We were out of town. We got to go see our granddaughter play Mrs. White in her high school play version of Clue. Topped up on my what? Hello.
Hi.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I panicked because I logged on and it kept kicking me out. And I was like, no.
I don't know why in the world it was telling you I was no longer live, obviously, because I was live sitting there. That's weird.
I know.
I'll have to ask I have a when you're on YouTube, they assign you somebody that talks to you once a month. You do a live face to face once a month, and you can kind of talk about your problems. You can or he or she kind of guides you towards things maybe you don't understand about YouTube. It's a nifty little feature, and you get to talk to them every month.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'll have to bring that up to them. Anyway, everybody, this is my teacher face. My teacher face. This is everybody. And thank you very much for doing this for me first and foremost. I wanted to talk about two main things: education and the childless living, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I wanted to start with education because, as you know, my daughter's going to school to be an educator, to
Yes.
be a teacher, and I wanted to talk about your career in educating. She is in her junior year. She's wrapping up her junior year. She's doing the
Oh,
she goes to a school and she works with a teacher. The kids have gotten to know her. She's been there a couple of years now, and she got her assignment for next year. She's going back to the same school. She's really looking forward to. What did you teach? What grade and what subject?
so I originally started eighth grade English in Prince George's County, Maryland. And after that first year, I moved back to New Jersey and I taught high school English, mostly sophomores, juniors, and seniors. I had everything from basic skills to advanced placement. So I saw the top 20 in the class and the bottom 20 in the class.
That's what she wants to do. She wants to work in high school and be an English teacher, and she
Oh,
wants
no
to work for the
way.
Chicago. Yeah, she wants to work for the Chicago public school system, and she specifically would. I mean, she really wants to be in the city and in that large school district. But yeah, that's what she's going for: high school English.
That's amazing.
It really is. I mean, especially considering when she went to school, it was to be a pediatric neurosurgeon.
Oh, well, that's a pivot.
So yeah, it was a hell of a pivot. She actually went to a boarding school for kids that are going to go into college careers for math and science. It's called Illinois Math and Science Academy, and you start there your sophomore year. You do sophomore, junior, and senior. So that's where she went to high school instead of her public school. She lived on campus, and she was all until she got to high school. She wanted to be a Supreme Court justice for years
Oh.
and years and years. Then she got to high school and she wanted to be a pediatric neurosurgeon. And then she went to UIC to be a pediatric neurosurgeon, signed up in the biology class. She got there, and everybody that she met, whether it be friends or teachers or whatever, they all said, "You explain stuff really well. You should be a teacher." And she changed her mind, and she's off on the teaching track now.
I love that story. That's amazing.
So yeah, 3 years in, she's going to be a teacher. So I guess the first question I'd ask on the education side is, what kind of advice would you give somebody like my daughter?
Ooh, okay. So everything is shifting so quickly in education right now, and it actually gives me whiplash when I wake up in the morning and I see my Google alerts for American education. I open it and I'm like, what fresh hell are we going to see today? When I read the news stories. But I always tell young teachers, and there are a lot of people saying don't go into teaching. And I don't want to say that to people because it was such a rewarding career for me. For all 32 years, I just absolutely loved what I did. And so I tell new teachers it's more important than ever when you're looking for a job to very carefully research the district that you want to work in and the school that you want to work in. So I tell people if you have an opportunity to be a sub in the school before you get the job, do it because you will see how the school is run, the interaction of the kids with the teachers, the interactions among the teachers, teachers to administration. So just going and blindly going into a school without knowing anything about it could be a recipe for disaster, unfortunately.
It's kind of like taking a cruise to see which countries you want to vacation in.
Right.
That's what we do. We like to take a cruise and we go,
Yeah,
we're going to go to 4 countries. We'll figure out which one we want to go back to. Okay, so I mean,
exactly.
that's interesting advice. Interesting advice. Just kind of like test it out. Luckily, like I said, she's going to wind up being student teaching, I think is what they call it, at the school that
Mhm.
she's at for 3 years before she finishes college.
That's
So
great.
if she could land that assignment post graduation, there would be a great deal of familiarity there.
And that
Um,
helps.
yeah, like a lot. one of the question or one of the things that she doesn't it struggles with is the wrong word, but it still kind of messes with her mind is she's 21 and she's got high school kids referring to her as Mrs. Powell or Miss Powell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that like a really tough transition for you in the beginning? Because she's like, I'm Lily. Well, I was just in school with kids
I
like
know.
you.
I know. And her age difference is much smaller than mine was. So I taught 8th grade my first year. So I was 22 teaching 15-year-olds. And my kids in Prince George's County had failed 8th grade twice. So they were 15 instead of 13. So it was a bigger gap. But then when I got to high school, teaching high school, I was about 25 or 26. Plus, I'm tall. And when I wear heels, I'm 6 feet tall. So I had the stature, I had the presence, and I had the no nonsense approach, especially when I was younger, to make that distinction. I also dressed like, a sister wife for my early part of my career. So I could just be like, I am an adult in this room. So it's that kind of distinction that younger teachers especially need to set their boundaries on that early.
See, she's very small, very petite. I mean,
Oh,
very, very, very small and petite. And normally, outside of a school environment, she dresses like she should have a cup in her hand. I
right.
mean, she's everything comes from Goodwill. It's all baggy. It's all big
Yeah.
purses. She's moving into like teacher clothes now, and trying to figure out what that is. But she like they mistake her for a student in the school. When
Yes.
she first got there, they were like, "You knew her,"
Where's
and
your
she's like,
pass?
"Yeah, I'm teaching." Yeah. What what did you do in the summer? Did you supplement like your income in the summer your entire 30 plus years?
I stopped doing that about, I would say 15 to 17 years in because my pay had finally gotten enough where I could put $250 a week, every paycheck. So 500 a month aside. So I could have 5,000 in the summer to live on. Cause my last paycheck was June 15th. And no, it was June 30th. And then my next paycheck was September 15th. So June
Mm.
30th to September 15th was a long time. So I always had part time jobs, a lot of tutoring, a lot of working for the school, writing curriculum. But there was a certain point where teaching is so mentally and emotionally exhausting. And people say, oh, it's 7 to 3. And no, it's not. No, it's not. And I lost so many weekends. And I said, I need to do something where I really stick to a budget so I can start to take summers where I'm not working a full time job all summer.
Yeah, I mean, she struggles with that now in the summers with college and whatnot. But uh, I see so many teachers in our area that look for these supplemental jobs in the
Mhm.
summertime because of that dip in the pay there. Um, I don't know. It seems like I get messages from like my son. He's in 8th grade now. I get messages through the school app at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night that grades are going through.
Right.
And it's like, and so when people say that stuff, like, well, what do you got summers off and you're out when the kids are out and you hardly work all year, hardly work all year. I, there are people that like during on Easter Sunday, I was getting grades uploaded to the app.
Yeah. So
There
I
is
tell
no
people all
real
the
time
time,
off.
I say to people all the time, if it's such an easy and lucrative job, why aren't you applying? Why
Yeah,
aren't you encouraging your kids to become teachers? Shouldn't you be shouting from the rooftop that everybody should be a teacher because it's so easy and so lucrative? Why aren't
you
you a
got your summers
teacher?
off. Yeah, you
Why
get to
aren't
party
you a
all summer.
teacher?
Well, and we know why that people aren't a teacher because A, it's hard work. B, not everybody can do it. And C, financially speaking, it's not, they're not exactly handing out the golden checks for the teachers out there.
Right.
Unfortunately, one of the biggest concerns that we had, obviously, with our choosing that path is, you're taking out student loans. Are you going to be able to do that sort of thing? But that, that'll all work itself out.
Yeah.
Um, I think for like so the way I view it is the way I viewed landscape. I was in landscaping, as you may know,
Okay.
for 26 years, and you don't stay in landscaping um, to get rich. You stay in landscaping because you like to do it. It's
Mhm.
back-breaking work. You're out there in the heat, you're in the rain, you're in the snow and the cold, and you don't make the most I ever made before I started my own company was 65,000 with some benefits. You just don't make a lot of money. So the way I look at teaching is you really got to love it.
Yes.
Like you to put yourself through that year after year after year, to put money out of your own pocket to make sure that your class is up to snuff for everything that your students
Mhm.
need, and to put in the hours afterward. It's got to be it's got to be in you. It's got to
It
be in your
does,
blood.
because you can't get up at 5:30 in the morning, drive to work in the dark and slippery roads, and not have a motivation to do something that day. Now, there were those days where I was like, "Should I just call out?" You do have those moments, but it is something where you're doing, especially teaching high school. I did 6 stand-up routines, 6 performances every single day
Yeah.
in front of an audience of potential hecklers. Because if there's one
Yeah.
thing that a high school kid loves more than anything, it's being right. And heaven forbid I should mispronounce something or not get
Oh
the
yeah.
exact right. A kid sitting safely in their seat, surrounded by their friends, be like, that wasn't the king at that time. I'll be like, great, I misspoke. Who is the king? Tell me right now. We'll all wait for you.
Oh, that's fantastic. Did you get a lot of hecklers from, like, were there many of those kids that were just constantly pushing back on everything you had to say?
I will tell you, when I started there in 95, 96, I taught sophomore honors. And right away, they were kind of like, well, who is she to come and teach us? We're honor students. And it took me a little while for them to get used to me. And they saw that I was working really hard to make sure that they were getting what they needed. The toughest year for me was when I was asked to teach AP seniors 2 weeks before school started. I had
Okay.
2 weeks to prepare for advanced placement lit composition. That started my Ambien addiction because my brain would not stop ever. And those kids who I taught as sophomores who thought I was very competent were now very skeptical of me as an AP teacher because they knew I hadn't taught it before. So that was my toughest year as far as kids coming back at me and me being nervous and not wanting to look like I wasn't prepared or didn't know stuff. As I got older, when kids would call me out and they would say, well, who was the prime minister at the time that this was right? And I was like, I don't know. Why would I know that? Why do you want to
Right.
know that? Look it up and tell all of us so we can forget it in 5 minutes. So I'm really good at sarcasm. I'm really good at like comebacks. So I think word gets out. The first day or two of school, there's always the kids, especially in my basic skills class, where they'll sit back and be like, what's she going to teach us? And they'll come out with something. And I would do what I would call a Cobra strike. And it was a quick bam comment. And I just moved on to what I was doing. And the kid would sit there stunned like, what just happened? But I didn't dwell on it. I didn't interact with the kid. They said something rude. I did a Cobra strike. I moved on like nothing had happened. And so once kids see that, they're like, all right, I got it. They didn't want to be called out by me. They didn't want to have a
Yeah.
longer. And I was a very happy teacher. And if there's one thing that makes kids shake in their boots more than anything else, it's when the happy teacher is not happy.
Yeah. And I've seen your videos where you've got your phone on your desk and you're kind of talking to your class. And I could tell, you could tell, like, when you're having a good day and you're having a really kind of day. You're really going to come at me with that. Now, did you teach long enough that they knew that you had social media?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So what you see on those things, those are lunches. So seniors would come into my room during lunch,
Oh, okay.
and it was like 3 or 4 days a week where I had my room open for half of the period for them to come in. And there were some days where I just wanted quiet. And I just needed a break from human interaction because, I'm in a building with 1,500 people. That's a lot of energy. And they'd be like, "Can we eat in here?" And like the sucker that I am, I'm like, "Yeah, come on in." And they would say something, I'd be like, "Really? Really? That's what you're talking about right now?" So I do miss that aspect and being with kids and that kind of wonderful energy that they have, but I don't really miss anything else.
See, and that's what, when you talk about that, that's what reminds me of my own daughter, the one that I have three daughters, but the one that's going to be a teacher, because she, like, I her favorite teacher in junior high, she had a desk next to the teacher's desk. They let her sit up there. She she knew this teacher personally. She did this. She was always hanging out in this one's class at lunchroom
Yes.
or on extra break. She was always hanging out with the teachers. So I guess we shouldn't be surprised that ultimately she wanted to be a teacher
Oh.
because she was just like that. This is the room I hang out in, and we all hang out with this teacher because this teacher's cool. And now those teachers are teaching her little brother, my eighth grader.
Oh.
He's going through that system. So our oldest daughter Magnolia had some of those kids, but she wasn't as into school as Lily was. Lily was really into it, and Tommy's really into like the history and all of that stuff.
Oh.
So yeah, he's got some of the same teachers that they've had, and like we go to events and they're like, "Is that just the last one? There's three to the system, or is that?" Like, yeah, that's it. We got nothing but grandkids after this, and that's not my
Yeah.
fault. I can't be responsible for that.
And sometimes you
But yeah,
don't
she
realize
hung
how
out in
many
the
are
in
in
the
a
classes.
family. Yeah, and I had a family of
Oh
10
yeah.
at one point, and so I had the first 4, and then I remember saying to the 4th one, like, "What is happening? Like, what's going on?" And they're like, "Oh, there's 6 more after me." I'm like, "Oh my god, so my whole career, I'm gonna have kids in this family," and I think I taught all of them except 3. But I love teaching families. I taught parents. By the time I left, grandchildren, my 3rd generation, were in middle school by the time I left. So if I'd stayed a couple years more, I would have taught a 3rd generation.
That's it, it's crazy, isn't it? And now our
It
our
is.
our daughter, our oldest Magnolia, our oldest together. I have an oldest outside of my relationship with Renee, but our oldest together is expecting her first child next month, and she
Mm,
wants to move back to this town in a few years. And so there's a possibility that her kids are going to run through the same exact school system. And a lot
yep.
of those teachers are pretty young. I mean, they still have a lot of years left to go. Don't get me wrong, Maggie retired a few of them too.
Yeah.
There were a few of them that were like, "We're good, we're done." But a lot of them are very young. They're in their 30s.
Well, there's a big turnover right now in education. And
Yeah.
what we're finding is that 44% of new teachers before year 5 leave the profession. And that's within the past like 7 to 10 years that's been happening. But beyond the first 5 years, about 7 out of 10 teachers who have more than 5 years experience are talking about leaving the profession.
See, that's definitely not good news.
No.
You need teachers. You need certain types of trades in the country. And I do not wish to take this down a political track. I just want to ask this question:
Okay.
how much of an effect is what's happening at the federal level with the Department of Education going to filter down into the local school systems, Chicago, Philadelphia, New York?
Well, here's the misconception that was pushed out that I think has had a much bigger impact than anybody realizes. The talking point that came out is that we need to bring education back to the states. What people don't realize is that education, 90% of education has always been at the states.
It's been in the
So
states, yeah.
the justification to get rid of the Department of Education by saying it needs to go back to the states is false because it's already there. The federal funds, which are about 10% of any state budget, are not going to curriculum, graduation rates, state testing, discipline issues, school funding. It's not going to that. It's going to larger programs like Title One. And there is a bigger plan with the separation of the Department of Education to fragment it to the point that it is ineffective.
And how much does on the state level, we see this happening here in the Midwest, right across the border in Missouri. How much does the push to use public dollars to fund private schools affect the school systems? Because one of the issues that we see in the city of Chicago is funding issue. Property taxes are what pay for your school districts around here, and the communities that have the money have the schools that have everything. The communities that don't have enough money don't have enough of everything, and everybody keeps pushing them to get school vouchers to leave the city and go to a private school. But in Missouri, what we've seen is they passed that where we're going to use public funds, and then all the charter schools, the private schools, jacked their rates up 3 times.
And what we're finding now that, especially in places like Arizona and Florida that have been using vouchers for a while, Florida was over their budget by about a billion within the first year or
Really,
two. And Arizona has such a deficit because they made the vouchers universal. It was supposed to be for underprivileged kids who were in poor
Yes.
performing school districts. But what they did was they didn't put the limits on that. So the vouchers were being given to families who already had their kids in private schools.
Yep.
So it was like a coupon, an $8,000 to $10,000 coupon for some families. And when that money is pulled out of the public school still has to pay the bills and do the heat and pay the
Mhm.
staff. But their money to do that is being siphoned off to a school that doesn't have the same state standards, doesn't have the same testing, doesn't have to answer for anything that they do, anyone that they hire. Their teachers don't have to be accredited. So that money is being pulled out, and we're seeing schools closing in record numbers, unfortunately.
And like, I'm not trying to get too personal into your career, but on an average year, how much of your own money would you have to put out in order to outfit your class?
Well, I would say easily with because I taught a film analysis class. So I had
Okay.
to buy the DVDs at first, and then I had to buy the streaming rights for some of them. If I tried to
Mhm.
apply for that through the district, it would have taken months to get approved and get back. And I tried to change my curriculum based on the kids I had in front of me and what would be interesting to them. I couldn't wait for that. So I would say on my biggest years, it was like $1,000. On my lower years, it would probably be between 250 and 500.
Still, money that
Yeah.
somebody who is not making millions of dollars doesn't really, you're trying to save money for the summer months while putting out $1,000
Yeah.
just to be able to do your job.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a messed up system, and I don't particularly like the money coming out of the public school systems. I think that we need to figure out a better way to fund the public school systems, but I
Mhm.
just don't know that we're going to have that over the course of the next couple of years, at least,
I
until maybe we
agree.
get some sanity back in the country. Unfortunately, it's going to be up to the local levels, and it's going to be up to the states to try and prop up these schools. And unfortunately, it's those rural states that are in areas that don't have large population centers that they just don't generate the GDP to
They're
fund their
not.
schools on their own.
And they're the ones who are losing the Title I funding. They'll be losing the Title I funding that came from the federal government. And even though they, supplied their own schools with their state taxes and their property taxes, they got Title I for underprivileged schools, which helped to make up that gap. Well, there is a plan, there is a project that is planning to make sure that that is gone within a 10-year period. It's right on page
I,
360.
see, it's of that one particular project. Yes,
Yes, which
you and
I
I are
have
going to
read
have to
four
definitely.
times.
Right? You and I are definitely going to have to talk more about that at another time for sure. I do want to switch into that other topic, which is
Yeah.
the topic that you do a lot of content on, and that for some unknown reason to me, you catch so much grief on. Childless living. The first question I want to ask is the transition from that first topic to the other. Why you seem like somebody that wants to be around kids,
I do,
right? I
just
mean, you
not
chose a career
24/7.
around kids. Yeah, there you go. Is that what it was? It was like, I like your kids.
Mhm.
I want to go home and have a glass of wine.
Yeah, and you know what it was? For me, I never felt maternal even when I was little. My mom remembers me like, my mom gave me a Barbie at one point, and I cut off her hair. I didn't play house, I played bossy manager. I was the one who put my disgruntled stuffed animals in a row and told them, fiscal part 4 has to be. I just wasn't. When I babysat, I did it for the money. I was very good to the kids, but when it was time to be done, I was like, "Oh my god." So I knew from a very early age that I just didn't have whatever it was. And I don't think you should go into parenthood because you feel that you should or because it is the
Hmm.
next thing to do. I feel that it has to be something deep within you because I have taught far too many kids whose parents probably didn't think about why they were having kids. And I saw absolutely ignored children throughout my entire career. And that is heartbreaking. I think a kid would rather be yelled at than ignored. And
Oh yeah.
yeah. And so I just said, I don't want to have kids. I think I declared it openly when I was 13. And then when I started dating, when it was getting, early 20s and serious, I would say to people right away, hey, by the way, I'm going to be child free. I am. no interest. And I remember going out with my ex-husband on one of our first dates, and he's like, "Oh my God, same." And we were like,
Okay, so
"Why?"
you found a guy that wanted the same sort of lifestyle.
Yes, yes. But I was very
Yes.
open about it. I wasn't I was very clear, like, you're not going to change my mind. Don't think that, oh, once we get married and have a house, she's going to see this is the next step. That's not fair. And
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
said very in no uncertain terms, that was not going to be me. And I had friends who always knew they wanted to be a mother, and they're excellent parents. So they should be having children.
Now, what is the grief that you get? I see people pushing back on you, and almost like you are in some way, shape, or form as an individual woman choosing to be child free, single handedly putting the entire existence of the future of the human race at risk.
Right.
And I don't understand it. It's like what is the grief that you get for this?
Yeah, so I think it comes in different categories. So for some moms, they are wonderful and supportive of me. And they're like, listen, I love my kids, but I get it. You need to do what's right for you. I fully support you. And I fully support mothers 100%. I also get the moms who are saying, you will never know true love. Your life is incomplete. And I'm just like, okay, great. Thank you for that unsolicited advice there. But then I also get it from men who are just angry that a woman would say that she does not need a man's seed or whatever their issue is. Whatever the fact that I have a boyfriend who is wonderful. We've been together for 7 years. I love him dearly. I don't want to live with him. I don't want to get married again. He is the love of my life. I am happy with this, And when I talk
Yeah,
about living solo and not having children, men love to say, "You're either on meds." "Oh, how are your antidepressants?" And I'm like, "Ugh, so old." And then they'll say, "How many cats do you have?" Because, that I was like, "Living alone with 7 cats? Amazing." Like, what, you think
right.
that's a bad thing? Are you kidding me? But I don't have any cats. So then they'll try to say, well, I'm going to be 57, and they'll say, well, you're old and used up anyway. You're damaged goods. And I'm like, but I'm not looking for you, sir.
Yeah.
That's
It-
fine
That
if you
that
think
thought
that.
that thought process that, well, you don't have a usefulness on this planet because
Hmm.
you're at an age where you didn't have kids, and now you're at an age where you can't have kids or shouldn't be having kids, so you as a woman have used up your usefulness. I
Yes.
don't understand that thought process, right? Because
Right.
I'm married to a woman who rose through the ranks in her career and was doing in her field. She was in agricultural exporting, doing things that no women did, that it was all men. But she got into this industry at the ground level when it was first starting, and she worked her way up, and she was running multiple facilities. And it's like, when they looked at her, they never looked at her as a mom, they looked at her as an industry leader.
Gotcha.
And so when she would say things like, I need to take some time off so that I could go deal with, my kids got to play, my kids got a thing. It would always be like, oh shit, you're a mom. That's right, you got kids at home. Yeah,
Hmm.
a woman can do more than just pump out kids for you. And so
Imagine
the
that.
usefulness, yeah, the people that come in and go, well, you're used up. Well, I don't recall asking you for a date. God damn it.
Nor would I if I were
Yeah, I
available.
just I don't understand the thought
I
process
think
of it. And
it's.
I have a stepsister who's child free as well. Her and her
Mhm.
husband chose to be child free. They live over in the UK, and they always said they were both techies, and they worked for Microsoft for a while before they moved to England. And they always said, I want more computers, not more, well, not kids. I like playing with computers. They just knew that their lifestyle was not. They wanted to be able to pick up and go on vacation, or pick up
Right.
and do this, and as somebody that's got multiple kids, I know that you can't do that.
Right, right. And that's something where I don't think people really think it through. Where even when, my friends were having kids, and I was talking to my ex-husband, I said, I haven't changed my mind. Have you? No. Have you? No. And I said, I don't think people realize that when you go to have a child, everything could work out beautifully, and it could be a healthy, wonderful child. there are other circumstances that happen, health of the mother, health of the child. And you have to take into consideration that any of those scenarios could be life changing in ways that you didn't anticipate. Because I think we all think of kids being born, they go to 18, they go off, they live their life, they come back with the grandkids. And if that works out that well, great. I think that's wonderful. But there are lots of other situations that can happen. And I don't think a lot of people are really prepared for that. And so we see a lot of divorces when there are kids with health issues. We see a lot of divorces when there are problem children with behavioral issues. So I just think people need to really kind of say, why am I doing this? And if it's such a strong urge, great, have those children. But if you're on the fence, I'd rather regret not having a child than regret having one. And that's something that
Well,
people have to think about.
and from another personal standpoint, and you've touched on this, not everybody should have kids. And my mother and father were prime example. My father was a 27-year-old drag racer, and my mother was a 16-year-old high school girl. And they had a one night stand that produced me. But it altered both of their lives in such a manner that it and I'm not saying this to be, self-deprecating or anything, but like I completely ruined both of their lives, right? They were on separate tracks and then I came along and it was it. But then the issue with my mother, if you I don't know if you've ever seen the content that I talk about, is when my parents got a divorce when I was 8, she started to throw fists with me.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so it's like, from my own personal standpoint, I can look at somebody that's arguing that your duty is to grow up and have kids and go be a parent. She should have never done that. And so there are people that just shouldn't be doing it. And
Right.
she's one of them. I know other people that just it's not a case of it's I want to have my own life. It's a case of they legitimately hate kids. You get them around, they get around kids, and they're like, I can't stand you, little shits. And so
Right.
listen, just because we can reproduce doesn't mean we should
Right.
reproduce. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people that shouldn't have reproduced.
Yeah, I taught some of their children, and I tried the best that I could do to, because I said, it doesn't matter if I don't have kids. It doesn't mean particularly for me, I like kids. I don't want to be with them 24/7, nor do I want to be responsible for their life, making sure
Yeah.
they're alive and fed. And that's very stressful to me. And I'm an anxious person as it is. I would be a ganglion nerve around a child. I would raise a child that would, it would not be a good recipe. But I also wanted to make sure that I could help educate kids who would then be in society with me. I want
Yes.
intelligent, critical thinkers out in society with me. And if I could do that with 150 kids a year for 32 years, great. I did my part, 3,000 kids. I just want them to be out there, productive, happy, critical thinkers who are contributing to society in any way that they can.
Another reason why I don't understand why people aren't in favor of more funding for high school, because the next workforce that's going to contribute to the retirement fund that we're all going to be living off of, you want them to be a
Yes,
productive workforce. You
right.
you don't want a workforce that's going to lag in the future. Now, the interesting part about child free that I want to ask you about is, so like, from a standpoint, I can see who's going to take care of me, who's going to be there as I age. Let's have that conversation. How does
Okay.
that look in your world, and how much crap do you get from that? Because I understand my kids are already talking about, all right, you're 54, old man. We'll tell you when it's time that we're going to take your car keys from you. But
Right.
there's nobody there to do that.
Right, right. And people think there's nobody there to do that. But I always say to people, I know people whose children do not talk to them and they're in their 80s. I have been to nursing homes for relatives where people who have kids have nobody there visiting them. I know people who have huge, huge families and don't have anyone, but I know people like me who have created and cultivated a circle, a friend circle, a family circle. People think family is only children. I have nieces and
Yes.
nephews. I have siblings. I have in laws. I have my boyfriend and his family and his kids and everybody there. It's important that Child-free people build their circles, and that means you give to other people of your time and your energy and your generosity. They give it back to you, so that if something were to happen, I have another friend who's child-free, and she thought she had to have eye surgery, and I was like, "Well, I'll go with you. Tell me when it is." So it's my mom is a widow. She lives on a cul-de-sac with all widows. Guess what? They look out for each other every single day to see who didn't get the paper off their porch. Her kids live 30 minutes away. So people think that their kids are going to be there on their deathbed in this very dramatic moment where
Right.
everybody is laying hands on them. And I was like, if that happens, amazing. We got to do that for my stepfather. But my aunt had a stroke in her house. And we didn't there's so many ways that people can
Yeah.
pass. And to have a child for a hypothetical situation where you will be dying on a deathbed slowly and will have time for your children to get to you, I mean, that's very selfish to
Yeah.
say, I want somebody to be with me when I die. I don't want anybody to be with me
Oh,
when
I
I
want
die.
somebody to be with me. I do want somebody to be with me. That's my biggest fear is dying alone. Uh, it's not why I had kids, obviously, but
Right,
that is
right.
my two biggest fears. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out. My two biggest fears: dying alone. But my I think probably my bigger fear is developing some form of either dementia or
Mhm.
Alzheimer's, where I'm around my loved ones, but I don't
Yeah,
know my loved ones. And then
right.
you come and go, and then like all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're my daughter, and then you don't know him again. I'm mutuals with a gentleman in Northern California who takes
Oh,
care of his
Dan?
father. Who
Dan,
Dan?
yeah,
Yes, you know
yeah.
Dan. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
So
watch. Yeah,
he was on my podcast. We know each other. We kind of joke with each other back and
yeah,
forth, especially about how he eats macaroni and cheese. Don't
yeah.
ever ask him about that. It's vile. But you know, his dad waking up every day and the
Mhm,
stuff that they're going through, that it's not easy. And
mhm.
when I think about people like yourself or people like my stepsister, I always think about that. So the circle of friends, that's awesome. Now,
Right.
does that mean that you at some point in time might make a decision on your own to maybe enter an assisted living care facility if that should ever come to it, or a 55 and older community or something of that
Absolutely.
nature? I mean, so you live in like a normal apartment in town, I
Yes.
assume.
Yeah. I actually live on a
Yeah.
college
You're actually
campus like
close
an
to a
idiot.
college campus.
I
Yes.
live on it. I
You
know.
no, see, that's you're not an idiot. That's what you like. You like education. You like being around the kids. Even though it's college, it's your life.
Well,
I
it was
could easily
affordable.
see my daughter. It was okay, affordable. There you go. What I don't mean to. Don't dox yourself, but do you know?
Yeah.
Can you say what campus it is?
Oh, yeah, people know where I am. I'm in South Jersey on, like, a university campus right across the
Okay.
bridge from, Philadelphia, and the nice thing is that a bunch of my former students from my high school go here. So when they have a break between classes, they'll be like, "Yeah, are you free? We're at the coffee shop, coming," and I'll be like, "Yeah, all right, let's go. Let's hang out. Let's say," so I have I have so many connectors where when something has happened in my life, even with my divorce, I had people coming out of the woodwork who are like, "Do you need to live with me? Do you need to do this and that?" And here's the other thing, if I get dementia, I won't even know that I have dementia.
There you go. Right? Yeah. You'll just be at the corner store one day buying Twinkies. You just don't know it.
Yeah, as long as
By the
I
way,
don't know, I don't care.
I just wanted to let you know somebody was in the comment section talking about how fabulous your hair is.
Oh my god, thank you. I can't see the comments. Mine are frozen.
No, you probably can't see on your end. There's a
Oh,
little bit of an issue, but somebody was talking about how
oh,
lovely your hair is.
well, wait. I got my new set of extensions today and I made a video about it. This is hair I
I did.
bought.
I saw your
Yes.
video and how she pulls the hair through
Yes.
and
This
how
is
I was like,
freshly
wow, that's a pretty
purchased.
interesting process. Nice,
Yeah, they
nice,
can watch my
nice.
video and I'll show I don't pretend like, this is my hair. I've never, when somebody compliments my hair, I just go, oh, thank you. I just bought it. And my friends are like, why do you tell everybody? I was like, well, I want to let them know that 57-year-old women do not grow hair like this.
Well, and it's full disclosure. It's like I'm not trying to be fake or something, you know.
No.
The content creators that do the best, I have found, are the ones that are the most genuine. They're not trying to do a skit. They're not trying to do a character, and they're not trying to pretend like they're something that they're not. And what people tend to do in the content creation space is they tend to bend towards what they think the audience wants. People inundate them with messages and emails and say, you should do this type of content and you should talk about this. And then they start doing content to please others. And they're always chasing the person that is unhappy
Oh,
with their content. Whereas somebody like yourself just goes, yeah, listen, you don't like the fact that I'm childless. You don't like the situation. I'm still going to talk about it. I'm not going to go out there and have a kid because you want me to have a kid.
right. And you probably see this too as a content creator. It's fascinating to me the people that hate follow me, where
Yeah.
I'll look at their comments and they'll go ham in the comment section on something, and then I'll look at their profile. And I'm like, they follow me. So
Oh,
I've
yeah.
I've called a couple people out, and I was like, you obviously I vex you on some level of your soul that is causing you to spend so much time in my comment section. Why do you follow me? Like, what is happening
Exactly.
here? Do you want to block
Every
me, or should
single
I
day.
block you?
Every single day. But because I now earn a living doing this, I'm like, keep
Mhm.
commenting, keep following. I
Same,
just wanted to let you.
same.
Yes. Are you monetized on social media now?
Yes. So when somebody comes in and they'll be like,
Yeah.
"You're horrible," and this and that, I'll go, "Tell me more." Or,
See,
"I disagree, but tell me more."
yes, exactly. Keep commenting, keep doing what I need you to do. Also wanted to just let you know, somebody in the comment section said, you're 57. Wow. And that's the exact opposite of what I get. People go, you're only 54? Jesus, man, you look like you're 70. And
Listen,
it's the
this
beard.
does a lot.
Yes. That's it. This makes me look like I'm much older than I am, and my wife has been dying for me to shave it for quite some time, but I can't
Well,
bring
that's the
myself to
real
do it. It's
color
part
of
of my
my hair.
personality.
That's the real color of my hair as well.
Okay, good. Right on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right on. So, is this like your retirement plan? Doing content creation?
It is. I am doing everything I can to put a certain amount of money away each year, like everything I saved from my teaching career, because we did the tax shelter annuities. I don't know if they have
Okay.
them in every state, but we did them in New Jersey. And one of the best pieces of advice I got when I first started was my friend Danielle came up to me and she's like, "Hey, you're new. Start your tax shelter annuity." And I was like, "Oh my God, I just met you." So I thank her now after 30 some years because I transferred that. And then what I make on social media, I put into that because I would love to fully retire at 65, which would be my goal, where I can then have my pension if it's still around. I think we are fully funding the pension in New Jersey now. Social Security, I'm a little bit nervous about that. And then if I pay myself from my annuity, I can fully retire at 65 if I want to. I'll see where this space goes because I really do. I'm very active in my comment section, very active, because I think it's important for me as a teacher to give advice on teaching and then talk to people about it. I don't want to bomb them with advice and then be like, "See ya," So
Right.
I love this kind of interaction. I get a lot of emails and a lot of DMs from people who are looking for advice or just need to vent, and I open them. And
Yeah.
I want to help. It's part of my nature. So I enjoy that now. It is, as you know, because you post so many times a day and you're on top of so many issues, you know how
Yeah.
taxing that can be. And so what I found is that I rarely sleep through the night because I'm thinking about what I'm going to focus on for the next day. I only really make one piece of
Uh,
content a day. That's my anxiety level. That's what I can deal with because the first 2 hours of my day, 7 to 9, I spend going through comments on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. I'm running 4 platforms and I don't post the same thing all the time on all 4. So my alarm goes off at 7. I get my coffee. I turn on the Today Show in the background, and I just go through as many comments as I can in 2 hours. And I
can
try to
you
respond.
can you TikTok, Insta, YouTube, and what?
Facebook.
Facebook. Okay. Yes, those are all the platforms I'm on as well, and monetized on all of them. This one here is by far my best platform to date.
Really?
YouTube. We're making more money than we ever have.
I can't get enough traction on YouTube. I don't know. Like I'm at 107,000 followers, but I get stuck on 106 for like 5 months, 107 for, it's now been 3 months. I don't know if I don't post enough on YouTube. I interact on YouTube, but I don't think I get as much traction. The place where I'm getting the most traction right now with the most, let me call it interesting audience, is Facebook, because they
Oh
skew
yeah,
older
yeah,
and they
and
skew
crazier.
opinionated.
Yes, oddly enough, they're paying very well right now.
Very well.
Facebook,
Yes, I was
very,
surprised.
very well.
And I had a hacking situation where I closed out my old MyTeacherFace page, was there was almost at 100,000 followers, and I was working with Meta over and over and over again. I finally gave up like a month ago, and I just found out that they recovered the money, and I should be getting it for the 3 months that the hackers stole. So I'm now on my
Good.
new one, and I'm very engaged with that, and it does pay very well. I found such wonderful people on my Facebook, but there are some who are just absolute wingnuts who can't wait to talk about litter boxes in classrooms and turning kids trans. And I was like,
Oh
Jesus
yeah,
Christ, lady, I can't get them to charge a Chromebook. I'm going to turn a
yeah.
kid trans?
The people that think that you're taking their kids to get a sex change operation in the middle of the day and then dropping them off by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and Timmy became Tammy. It's like, what do you honestly think that happens? They can barely get them through the school during the day. They can't
Right,
get them to sit straight half the time. They're going to put them
right.
on a bus and go get a sex change operation. It's like, come on, man. You got to start using that lump
I
3 feet above
wish.
your ass from time to time.
And you know what I've said to some people? They're like, you're one of those liberal teachers who does this and that, and I said, but why, what am I going to do with a transgender army? Even if I had that power, even if I was so magical
Right?
that I could get a person to say that they are the different gender, what would I do with a transgender army? What would be my purpose? What is my end goal in your mind? They never have an
You're
answer.
you're going to take over the United States of America, of course. Here on YouTube, do you post consistently?
I try to post once a day, but only once a day.
Okay. Okay. I found that consistency is the key. Like if people are okay with once a day, but if it's once a day, they want their once a day post. What I find is that people will say like, I post once a day, and I did that for a week and a half or like 3 weeks, and I didn't get any traction, so then I didn't post for 2 weeks. That's a big no
Oh,
no on YouTube. It's about the consistency. Also, the community tab. If you start the community tab, if you go to my page, there's a tab called community, and what I'm able to do there, I didn't, my consultant on YouTube talked to me about this. I
taking
do
notes.
polls, no problem. I do polls and quizzes,
Oh.
and I put polls out every day. So I schedule them in advance. So at 7 o'clock in the morning, I typically have like a political poll, and then at noon, I have what's called a visual poll where I can give them visual options, and it's like I kind of mess around with that one. Like, whose house would you rather go to? Grandma's for pancakes or auntie's for French toast? Stuff like that. And then at 4 o'clock, I
Oh,
usually post a quiz, like today's quiz, which nation has the most established nations, and I give them four options. And what that does is it drives engagement.
I love that idea because it's a way for me to connect with my audience that's not necessarily
Yes,
just education. And it's tough for me to put more personal stuff in because I'm like, where do I wedge that in? Like I didn't put my extension video on YouTube today because I'm like, is that what my audience wants to see from me? But polls would be a good way for me to dip my toe in that pool and just say, let me try to branch out a bit. I love that idea. Thank you.
yeah. Oh, if you ever have any questions when it comes to the YouTube stuff, just send us
Yeah.
an email. My wife and I actually do this as a team. I know I make a lot of content. What I do is every other day I make 50 videos. And then
Gotcha.
what I do, I take those 50 videos and I upload them to YouTube in private. And then my wife takes
Yeah.
over and she does thumbnails and descriptions and hashtags, hands them back over to me, and then I schedule them out over the next 2 days.
Right.
And
I
then
do
the
that when
next
I
day
go
I
on
take my day
vacation,
off.
but not every day. Oh, that's such a good idea because
Exactly.
I always batch create before I go on vacation and then I schedule them to be
Yep.
released at a certain point. But that's a very good idea. I do need to become more active because I like my YouTube audience because I find it's very international. More so than
Yeah.
my other platforms, which I was surprised with. So Facebook are my older crowd. YouTube is more international for me. Instagram is more teachers and young women. And then TikTok is all over the place.
Yeah, TikTok is I get a bunch of crazies in TikTok, and I do have the older crowd on Facebook, like you said. YouTube, I'll tell you without a question of a doubt, is where I have the most people trying to engage with me. They send me emails, they send me stuff in the mail to my PO box more than any other platform, and they
Oh,
take like an ownership in your presence. When the first time I did a live on YouTube, and we'll wrap this up here in just a second so I don't keep you for too long. But the first time I did a live on YouTube, I had people coming into the comment section saying, "Are you going to do a paid membership?" And I said, "No, because I don't want to do specific content for paid people. I want to keep it all free." And they said, no, on YouTube we want to financially help support the page, so let us pitch in a couple of bucks a month. So I set it up for $5 a month, and they started to flood in. And when you do lives on YouTube, people, they tip you $20, $10, $50, $5 at a time while you're in the live. And so if I go live for an hour and a half, I'll make 150, $200 on that live, and get a couple of memberships out of it. And people are constantly just wanting. They call them supers. They're like, I'll just be wandering about. I'll be in the store, and all of a sudden I get a notification. You got a $5 super on this video. It's like a tip. And they're just like, we
oh,
want to financially support the page. So I have found that people here are far more engaging than anywhere else. And because they're on YouTube, they're like, yes, the hell with TikTok, the hell with Instagram. YouTube is where I'm at. And the
that's a
Instagram
great
people love
point.
Instagram, and the Facebook people love Facebook. And so I put the same content on all those pages as long as I can, because I can't, do certain things and say certain things on
Yeah.
camera for
Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram. But yeah, it's really been it's been crazy since I've been starting to do that. And I use a website called Repurpose. Look into that if you can.
Oh, I've heard about it. Yeah, where you put it and
Yes.
then it will remix it for the various things and yeah.
Yes, it repurpose, and there's another one called Buffer. It's an app that I
Yeah.
use for posting like memes and whatnot to threads and
Right.
Facebook and Instagram and whatnot. So
Oh, I need to step up my game.
listen,
I think I'm inspired.
no, yeah, you listen. You send me an email or a message anytime. I'll help you out with anything. I'll answer any
Great.
questions.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
appreciate you coming on. This has been fabulous. I want to actually talk to you some more because there are more subjects that we need to cover. We need to cover.
Sure. I'm in. Let me know.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm sad I
You
didn't
have
get
a
to see
great
any of the
time.
comments, but it was great and I'm going to be more present on YouTube. Thank you.
So here's the deal. All of my videos, all of my lives that I do on YouTube are archived on my page in the form of a video, and
What?
people can go back and watch it and see all of the comments.
Stop
So you can go
it.
back and watch this at any point in time.
Thank you. Look, I just don't know
No
stuff. All
problem.
right. I'm stepping up my game. All right. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll talk soon again. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye
You're
bye.
welcome.